Podcast. Podcast. I am doing this intro about as well as the Carolina Hurricanes played tonight. That was bad. It is
right from the get-go.
The self-proclaimed sports analyst, joined by Chazzy, who puts the capital C in CEO. See, Chazzy, you put all three letters in capitals now. Congratulations. And Mr. More for your money.
Woo!
So, Chazzy, it looks like
the nice jacket More for has got on today.
Thank you. Hudson's Bay Blow is a classic now. It's the Team Canada.
I think Team Canada took lessons from
2010 Vancouver.
Can we talk about that just for a second? How
we absolutely can. What a disaster.
Oh my gosh, that was terrible.
Devastating. Oh my God.
That's bad.
I was watching my Team Canada trying to give them some hope, but
it's Denmark they lost to.
Denmark of all places.
Like their goalie stood on his head or what? 2-1 game?
Yeah, Nikolai Ehlers got the goal at the last minute.
Ehlers tied it up, and Olofsson, who hadn't played in the NHL in years, got the winner.
Wow.
I'm going to say this right off the hop here. I don't know why Binghamton was in net when Fleury is only allowing 1 goal per game. Like, to me,
I did this thing comment.
Like, Marc-Andre Fleury has been such a dominant force.
Let him go. I thought they were going to let him go. Just finish the tournament.
But no, they went with Binger. And I can't say the game was Binghamton's fault. Like, he allowed 2 goals on 33 shots, but you need more goal scoring from that group. But man, that's bad. Like, that's the first time in the franchise in Canadian hockey history to lose to Denmark.
Like, what players does Denmark even have? Like, they
got Nikolai Ehlers number 1.
They obviously have some studs to put it.
They used to have like 2 goalies back in the day. Like Dennis Urbe or something like that.
Archers Urbe.
Urbe. Yes.
That's the only one I can think of. And did they have
goalie helmet?
Yeah, what was the other one they had? Niederreiter? No, that's Switzerland.
But I don't know. It's just for Canada. This is something they got to reevaluate because let's be honest, too. Even though they won 4 nations, goal scoring was a problem in 4 nations. They weren't scoring at a high rate. And in this tournament, you lost to Finland, which meant you had to play Denmark. And then Denmark squeezes out a tight game. Right, Canada's got to find a way to score more goals. So 1 goal is not enough against Denmark. That's just unacceptable.
Oh, it is. It's like, what were you doing?
I mean, I'll be honest now. I hope Denmark goes all the way. I think it'd be hilarious, but and also great. And it'd be nice to see, one of these countries that doesn't get the recognition. And this is the whole issue, I think, too. When a lot of players said that about 4 nations. Look, Denmark just beat Canada.
Right, that was my biggest thing. It's like you can't really call a best when West is not fair. And the other thing too is the odd time you do get upset, like what we had happen today.
So Canada closed out the World Hockey Championship on a 2-game losing streak.
Wow,
losing to Finland and then losing to Denmark.
Yeah, speechless.
Yeah, literally. I mean,
I'm shocked. Like, I'm legitimately shocked. I did not expect them to just lay an egg, especially, when you beat Sweden. America almost lost to Norway. You're feeling pretty good. And then instead, look, you can't hold on to a lead. Give Nikolai Ehlers credit. Nikolai Ehlers is one of those guys that I don't think people realize quite how good he is.
I've been saying that for years. I mean, he was just drafted 1 spot behind Willie Nylander.
Willie!
I'm just looking at Denmark's roster here, and besides of Nikolai Ehlers and that's about it.
Did Ehlers just add $1 million on annual to his contract by taking it?
No, not at all.
Maybe not $1 million, but you make. Yeah, I think he's the only NHL player on that roster. I mean, not $1 million, but the fact that he dominated so much in the playoffs, in my opinion, and he came up with a big moment here. I think it ups his value that he's so clutch in dying moments, right? Because if he just got this 1 goal against Denmark, Canada will not mean much. When you add this to what he did in the playoffs this year, yeah, I think it makes.
Nikolai Ehlers is getting paid in the offseason. Like, he's probably getting 8.
Yeah, see, I'm not seeing that much, but
I am. The cap's going up. You got to look at all these. If Marner gets 14, Ehlers is worth 8 easily. No, but seriously, if Rantanen's worth 12 and Marner's worth 14, Ehlers is worth 8. I'd pay Ehlers all day at 8.
Is that a scary compensation? We're saying that Marner is worth more than Rantanen.
He'll get it. Chicago will give him 14. But what does Carolina need to do now? They just had another really tough loss. And this game, I feel very different than I did the last game. The last game, I thought they played pretty well. They just came up short.
We were talking off camera. You're stealing my thoughts.
But this game, I don't feel good about this one at all.
Your first shot on net went in the net.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know what? And Chepekov did come in the third period. And I mean, the one goal we let in, he didn't even have a chance on. It was another power play goal. Yeah, Florida goes 2 for 2 on the power play. What happened to Carolina's penalty kill is my number one question. And Carolina was outshot in the first and second period. And that's the first time that's happened in these playoffs. Third period, they did outshoot Florida 10-5, but the chances weren't great. This is just mind-boggling to me. Bobrovsky gets a pretty easy 17-save shutout. Florida can't get anything going on the power play. They gave the puck away 20 times to Florida's 14.
Wow.
This was just not a good game at all for Carolina.
End up with?
Pardon?
How many shots did the Panthers end up with?
21.
21 is stupid.
But that's the kind of game Florida wants to play against Carolina. They want to keep it very low event, very physical.
And they played better tonight.
Pardon?
And they played even better tonight.
They did. Because I thought game 1. We
called it early. I think Lane as well. Kachuk had a big night.
He did.
He did. Yeah.
Kachuk was able to get on the score sheet here, which is something he had a goal and assist for 2 points, third star of the game. But man, what about Sam Bennett? Talk about a guy that keeps raising his paycheck
value.
Yeah.
Sam Bennett's leading this team in scoring right now. He got 2 goals, 1 assist for 3 points again tonight. He's been your best player these playoffs.
Oh, Bennett's getting paid.
Open market.
He's a center, very high value guy. I mean,
10?
He could be getting 9 to 10.
Holy cow.
He's got 10 points in 13 playoff games. He had a really good season again to 51 points in 76 games.
Now a 50-point getter is worth $10 million.
Because Sam Bennett it's not just the points.
I get it.
He fights. Like Tom Wilson gets a lot more money on open market than what he's being paid right now. If Matthew Nyes is worth 8, you could argue Sam Bennett and Matthew Nyes is comparable, but Sam Bennett's a center, right? And if this is where it's going to be very interesting to see where the chips lay. I wouldn't pay Sam Bennett $8 million, but for me, I think he's a $6 to $6.5 million center. But
I think it's too early to tell.
The right team might pay him 8. You're looking at a team that is. I'll be honest with you guys right here. I would pay Bennett $6 million before Tavares if I'm Toronto. Yeah, 100%. Points, but he's more what you need in the playoffs.
Yeah,
right. He's a big, physical, angry player who does not get pushed around. And if you look in these playoffs, he's been Florida's best player.
Well, I remember back in the Calgary days when Daryl Sutter got fired, he said that the Calgary team sucks, and that's why he couldn't coach them. And he said, get rid of every single guy on that team except one guy, and that's Sam Bennett. So who was the one guy they got rid of? Sam Bennett. And look how good Bennett is in Florida. Holy cow. Because in Calgary, he was a 4th-line center the whole time in Calgary. And he was like, oh, he's been better, blah, 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 blah. I kept saying, you got to give him the right amount of ice time and give him the right players to play with, and he would be top center and winning top centers in the league. Like Daryl Sutter and I said that, and boom, 5 years later, we're right.
But this is a tough one for Carolina's got to really try to figure some things out and fast. Because if you lose game 3, you're done. I even think right now, this is tough for Carolina. I don't know if I see Carolina coming back in this series right now.
Not against this Florida team.
I don't know if, and also too, look, Florida, after what they did to Toronto, they're going to be like, look, we don't feel a 2-0 series lead is safe. And I think they're going to come out and continue to be very hungry. They're going to be like Dan when he hasn't had his lunch and it's 2:00 and they're going to want to eat. So
but didn't they do this last year? They just steamrolled through the semis.
So Carolina has not won
the conference
final game in the last couple years.
For 0-14 in the third round.
Like, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm going to bring this up again. The playoff format absolutely sucks.
Yeah.
Carolina should not be in the third round. You look at who they beat, and I get it. Look, they beat them. Great. Good for you. Have a lollipop. But, and it's the same thing for Washington, right? They had an easier road because, well, I mean, an easier road in theory because they won first in the NHL or in the East, sorry. But they're not facing, the teams aren't facing the competition they should be, right? And like Carolina had a very easy run going against New Jersey, which they won in 5, then Washington in 5. Dan, you said off camera, you think this is realistically Carolina's first true test?
Well, 100%, because New Jersey, in my opinion, should not have made the playoffs. You look at 100%. You look at Calgary and missed by 1 point. Calgary had 4 or 5 points more than New Jersey. So the fact New Jersey made is an absolute joke. Then I thought Washington would be a real test of Carolina, but as disappointing as it is for me as a Caps fan, for whatever reason we don't really know, it was not a test of Carolina. And I think this is why it makes Relief fail even a bigger fail. Because you see Florida's steamrolling Carolina. Florida's better than Toronto, in my opinion. So if Florida's beating Carolina 5-0 and 5-2, then why not Toronto beat Carolina 3-2 and 3-0, right? And we could have made the Stanley Cup Finals. So it's even a more epic fail for Toronto.
So in theory, and to bring up Dan's point here, and my point too, in the old format, this would have been a first-round matchup between Carolina and Florida.
Right.
Toronto would have faced New Jersey. Montreal still would have got Washington, and Ottawa would have got Tampa. In theory. Now, mind you, this is with the divisions being 2 divisions versus it used to be 3 divisions, right? So it's not quite an exact science, but more or less, this is the format you would have had with the old format. And you're looking at this Eastern Conference Finals, in my opinion, feels like a first-round series.
Exactly.
Now, mind you, this would be 4th versus 5th, which is usually a tight series. And technically, Carolina would still be the home team. But this is what it's very frustrating. And I'm not giving Toronto any excuses here when I'm saying this, by the way. At the end of the day, you got to beat who you got to beat. They would have had to beat Florida at some point.
Yeah.
But we're not getting the best results in the conference finals because of the current playoff format. I'm sorry, but this series has felt like such a letdown after what we've been watching.
100%.
Like, we've had such high octane, exciting playoff hockey. And then we're getting to this, which, in my opinion, especially this game, it was boring.
It was.
Like, it's not even like there were a bunch of fights or anything. It was just bad.
I mean, if I'm a Carolina fan, I was sitting here after the post game of game 1, like, oh, I'm not that worried. Carolina has speed. Carolina has shots on net. Carolina still look good, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm sitting here if I was a Carolina fan, I am hitting that panic button hard right now. I'm hitting as hard as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. I mean, you didn't get 10 shots on goal until halfway through the third period.
Now, I will say the third period looked much better for them than the other periods, and they got to try to build on that for game 3. But the problem is you weren't a good road team. You went 16, 21, and 4 on the road.
Right.
Florida went 27, 12, and 2 at home. This is tough. This is...
Yeah.
If you lose game 3, there is no way in hell this Florida team will lose 4 straight. I would be stunned. I would be more stunned than watching the Leafs go back-to-back home games playing absolutely terrible. I don't see.
Wow.
I don't know if you boys.
So you're saying
with
there's
me.
a chance.
But right now, I think Carolina still has a slim chance. All you got to do now is win 2 in Florida. You got to win game 3 and 4. It's easier said than done, but it's very doable. If you lose game 3, you're done. Don't even watch Game 4. Just watch the Streakers Island podcast pre and post. We'll tell you what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all you need, because this is just not good.
Well, I remember when we were doing our show for the third round series, and we were looking at the rosters. I called it here at Streakers Island podcast. I said Carolina's forward group does not have depth at all. Whenever if I was crazy. But here I am. You got Walker as a rookie. You got Robertson as a rookie. You got Blake as a rookie. You got Rockavich or whoever he is, and no one's ever even heard of. So there's 12 forwards right there that all suck. And you look at Florida, and like, holy cow. Like, they don't compete at all. And yeah, Carolina's got Swayman and Burns, who are phenomenal. Gustafson, you can argue he's Augusta, so you can argue he's okay. But after that, what defense does Carolina have?
I think the more issue is goaltending here.
Like, Florida's a way better team.
I thought Frederik Andersen looked mediocre again. I think you got to start Chepekov Game 3 as much as...
Calling Andersen mediocre is quite generous. I mean, he allowed, 4 goals on 15 shots?
Something like that. It was not good.
I guess Stuart Skinner bad. Like, come on.
So we
Are you
allowed
guys
4
concerned about
goals on...
Reinhardt's injury?
Yeah, that's another thing, too.
No, Seth Jarvis came back in this game.
No, Weinhardt.
Oh, Reinhardt.
He did not come back. Now, maybe he didn't come back because... Now, Chazzy, don't forget, it's quite a possibility that he was iffy. But if I'm a coach and I'm looking at this game and I'm up 5-0, 4-0, whatever, and my star forward is kind of, I'm going to tell him take the night off. And that possibly could have happened. Maybe the injury's not as bad as it seems. We don't know. But
everything is not what it seems.
And maybe this sounds bad, but if I'm up 2-0 in the series and I'm dominating the way I'm dominating, and my star forward is kind of here, I'm not going to play him for a couple games. I want him west up for the Cup Finals.
No,
because I want him to face Ranton.
Kill your opponent until it's dead, and then you kill them again. That is how Florida has had so much success. You look at the end of this game; they are still pounding them, even though they're up 5-0. That's how Florida has been so effective. I think every team in the league should look at Florida and be like, "This is how you play playoff hockey." As much as I can't stand the Florida Panthers, I don't like this team at all. I can't stand Matthew Tkachuk. I wish he would just go away in the sunset and never return. Go to a farm upstate.
With a handful of Stanley Cup rings.
Yes. Well, right now,
do an old yellow situation, eh?
So I'm going to say this right now.
Go back and shoot him.
Give me a percentage that Florida's going to go to the Cup Finals after these first 2 games. Dan, you first.
98%.
Wow, you're very Chazzy.
Yeah, no, I'd say up there around the 90%.
I'm showing 75%. I still feel if Carolina can show up for Game 3 and get some, I don't see that this team's got to win in the conference final. Got to win a game at some point in the conference finals. And if you can, I'm still feeling very confident if I'm a Florida Panthers fan. But if I'm Carolina, you just got to regroup. I agree with Paul Maurice. There's no such thing as momentum from game to game going into the playoffs. And just regroup. I don't think Rob Brendamore is going to allow his team to play this poorly again.
You didn't
Rob Brendamore is a very good coach.
We did think that tonight, and look what happened.
Yeah, but I don't think they played poorly in Game 1. They lost. You can lose a game and play well. No, but you can lose a game and have a good game, right?
I was with you. I thought they were going to come out and play much better than they did.
I thought so too.
Or comparable to Game 1, but
right.
I don't think they'll lay another egg like this. I don't think they're Toronto.
The other thing,
a much better game on Saturday.
The other thing that we're missing here is, Carolina played terrible. But on the flip side of the coin, we got to give a lot of credit to Florida.
I don't. I don't think Florida.
No, let me finish. Florida played mediocre in Game 1, and they got the win. Then it came to Game 2, and they just dominated. They adjusted, and they played way better than Carolina.
Their penalty kill was a huge adjustment tonight. Carolina could not make a pass.
That's exactly it, right? Like in Game 1, you got the Florida guy standing there. I commented it in the post game. Like, wow, Carolina's power play looked amazing. They're constantly moving around, blah, blah, blah. Then you watch this game, they weren't getting any movement at all. They weren't getting any ice at all because as soon as they move, boom, Florida guy's right there. And Florida really adjusted. And Carolina always wins by getting like 40 shots on net. Florida comes in and they don't even give them to like 15. I'm like, holy moly. So as much as Carolina played bad, give Florida credit. They played well, they adjusted, and then they dominated.
But this has been a problem the last couple of years in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Eastern Conference Finals sucked.
Yes.
Like, if we look into the NHL playoff history, right? And which I'm just going to pull that up. But I feel like the last few years, the finals in the East have not been great. Like the Western Final. I sound like I'm going through puberty. I swear I'm not. I did that many years ago. But the Western Final, at least game one, was a high octane, exciting game where, like,
I don't even remember the Eastern Finals from last year.
It was Florida versus the Rangers, which Florida won in 6.
Okay.
Then the year before, I just got to make this bigger so I can read it. I'm getting old, guys. Florida swept the Carolina Hurricanes in the Eastern Finals in 22-23. Then in 21-22, Lightning beat the Rangers in 6. And that year, the Avalanche beat the Oilers in 4. 2021, this was the weird one where, okay, that was a good one when we had the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the New York Islanders went 7. So we haven't had a 7-game series in the East since 2021. That's not good.
No.
Right? And I mean, man, I used to love these New York Islander teams. So, and then Montreal, Vegas went 6 games of Montreal beating Vegas, and then Tampa destroyed Montreal in the finals. That was the weird year where Shea Weber basically willed one win.
Yeah, literally.
But
Shea Weber and Carey Price.
And then again, though, we go the year before again, and Tampa beat the Islanders in 6. Dallas beat Vegas in 5. I don't know. I just think this is the problem with the current playoff format. We're getting the good series out of the way in the first 2 rounds, and then by the third, we're just not getting a great series. Like, yeah. Edmonton, Dallas so far is not disappointed, but like even we look this year, like the only ones that have gone, we had more 7-game series in the first round than the second again.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it's just, and same with the year prior. Like we look at the year prior was the same thing. Toronto, Boston went 7. Dallas, Vegas went 7. And then we only saw one 7-game series the year after.
No, Glenn Turismo in the background. Get classical music soundtrack. It's awesome. I love their soundtrack.
I don't know. I
like having soothing music.
It's just a little food for thought that maybe the NHL needs to look at this. They're not going to change the draft system as much as I wish they would. But it's something you gotta. Not the draft system. Sorry, the playoff format.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got very confused. Like I was talking draft. I'm like, oh, okay.
Draft.
But I don't know.
I was talking playoffs.
Like, do you guys like the playoff format? I know we had this discussion months ago, but Dan, I know you don't. You live with me, but why don't you like it? Is it same thought to me, or are you just nostalgic?
I'm nostalgic, to be honest with you. Why fix it that it ain't broken, right? We saw some great series 1 versus 8 back in the day. You look at Los Angeles, they won the Stanley Cup. You look at St. Louis, they won the Stanley Cup, right? Just because it was an 8-seeded team doesn't mean it was weak by a long shot. And I like what you said, Jacob. I find you got better rounds as the playoffs went deeper. And I think that's more exciting because as the playoffs go deeper, there's only 1 game a night, and you can actually enjoy that 1 game. Versus in the first round, it's like 4 games a night, and like, unless you're like Jacob swiveling your head like an owl with 18,000 TV screens. Well, Jacob has 4 screens. With 4 screens, you can't possibly keep up with every single game, right? So, and those are exciting games. So it sucks missing that, you know? So
well, yeah, but no, it is an issue when I feel the second round felt so much more exhilarating, and I'm not just saying it because my team was still in it, but like the second round felt so much better than the third round has felt so far. Now, mind you, again, maybe Dallas and Edmonton will continue to give us a treat, and Florida, Carolina might wake up. But like, right now, it's boring.
Let's just be honest.
That's how boring it is. Like, Chassis has became the college student librarian. He is so sick of this format.
Even if like you're not a Maple Leaf fan, that Florida-Toronto series was the best series of the playoffs.
No.
Oh,
the best
really?
series was St. Louis, Winnipeg, a first-round matchup.
Yeah.
And
has a good one too.
1.6 seconds to go.
Your best playoffs have been in the first round again.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Right. I don't know. I just think we need to see some change because funny enough, we would have saw the same playoff format in the West. At good points, Dan. Hope you're well, bud.
Thank you. Yeah.
Jeff.
Wow. Yeah. So, yeah, Jeff, I went to Conestoga College with Jeff. Would have been about close. It
was 1980 something.
No, not that old, bud. That would have been, 12, 13 years ago? Good. I hope you're doing well, too, Jeff. That's awesome. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks for watching, Jeff. But even looking at the Western Conference playoff situation, so you still would have had the same first round between Winnipeg versus St. Louis in the first matchup there. But then you would have had Dallas versus Minnesota, Vegas versus Edmonton, and Colorado versus LA. So again, maybe you don't see potentially, maybe we don't see Colorado going out first round, or maybe we don't see LA going out first round, right? I don't know. I just feel like so far to me, at least especially Eastern Final, and I know it's just 2 games, but it just felt like such a letdown compared to what it was. Now, at least I'm having fun in the Streakers app, so that's the main thing.
To your point, in that West, you've had Edmonton playing LA 4 years in a row.
And it's, I'm going to say it, it's getting stale.
It is.
Like Craig, you've been very quiet. You are a man who uses his ears more than his lips. But I would like you to use your vocal cords and chime in. Which playoff format did you prefer? Do you like this new one where we're getting really competitive early round playoffs, but then the finals are a bit of a bust? Or did you like it where each round felt like it was getting harder?
Oh, no, you go back to the old style. 1 versus 8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5.
3-6-9. Damn, she fine.
Realign on the next round. Realign on the next round, then you got the best of the best.
Well, because then I think you're actually getting... Like, let's be honest, Toronto, Florida felt like the conference finals.
It really did.
For the last 3 years, you guys already almost knew who you were playing in the first round in November. It was one of two teams.
Hey, Dashko.
Oh, Mr. Dashing Dashko, the Dashinator 2.0.
Joining from his car.
But, and we have an agreement in the chat.
100%.
And yeah, I just think this is something the NHL's got to look at. Or what I would love, they will.
Bevan's already told us he's not looking at this again.
Yeah, but then the GM's got to step in and do it at a general manager's meeting, right?
And by the way, they will never do this, okay? But you know what I would love? 1 versus 16.
That would be amazing.
Get rid of the conferences. They'll never do it because it would cost way too much in travel.
Yeah, for sure.
But then, for example, first would be Winnipeg versus New Jersey. Then Washington versus Calgary. Then Vegas versus St. Louis. Toronto versus Minnesota. Dallas versus Ottawa. LA versus somebody. LA versus Ottawa, sorry. Then Tampa, Florida, Colorado, Carolina, Edmonton, Colorado. So like it would be, I'm not saying, you know what, I get they would never do it because of all the travel.
Yeah, but it would be pretty cool.
What would you do? Take top 8 in each conference, or would you just go points? Most points.
Most points.
Most points.
I would just go most points, throw them all in a pool, and say, get pitter patter, let's get at her.
Get it done.
Funny
So
enough,
you have,
the
what, 10 in
format
one
that I've
conference,
suggested in
6
the
in the others.
CFL as well, with the West typically being stronger than the East, maybe for the playoffs, just get rid of the conferences.
Like in CFL, if they do a cross league, right? So they can
Do a
join.
crossover. So
Thank
are you
you, crossover.
in Lane, to answer your question, it was worse than the score looked.
Oh,
Carolina,
it was bad, dude.
it is the worst
Bad.
game I've seen Carolina play in years in the playoffs.
Oh, my.
First shot on net went in.
And it was
It was bad.
But I don't know. I just think the NHL's got to really look at this playoff format. I really want to see a change. I know, obviously, my idea for 1 versus 16 would cost way too much money, and they would never do it.
Yeah.
But at least just go back to the old format. The old format, we were getting better first. We were getting what actually felt like a true conference finals. Like the West Conference final feels appropriate.
It does.
Dallas
I'll give
versus
it that.
Edmonton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Dan, your favorite word.
Bloom.
Yeah, they are.
Honestly, I like if Florida wins the next game, they'll sweep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope not, because I don't want the Eastern Conference Finals to feel this much of a letdown. But right now, it's been a huge letdown. Like I said, we said it going into the series, Toronto versus Florida. Winner of this series will go to the Stanley Cup Finals.
But here we go again. The team with rest that has come out flat early in the series.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, but I don't think Carolina came out flat in game 1.
They still lost.
No, that's
They
true.
okay, but there's a difference between being flatter than a root beer that Dan forgot to put away after 6
Still
hours.
lost at home.
And yeah, but again, you can play a good game and still lose.
Still
And
lost.
game 2 was terrible.
Mhm.
It was a disaster.
That was bad.
But to Chazzy's point, Florida, instead of being rested, is just rolling a normal schedule
they're-
right now.
That's what I said. I said before the
No, well,
series
it hurt
started.
Florida.
Flywheel just
Let's say Florida sweeps Carolina, and then Edmonton, Dallas goes 7. Does that
Yeah, I
hurt
know.
Florida?
That's a concern for Florida.
Oh yeah, 100% it is.
And this is a very good point here, Lane. Like the Leafs seem to very often lose to the team that goes all the way.
Yeah.
And again, people will say, "Oh, it's because the divisions are harder." Oh no! And like, yeah, but get over it. These are the way the rules are. Florida's still managing to get to the conference finals in 3 straight years, potentially getting to the Cup Finals back-to-back years. Figure
So
it
do
out.
you like the Shanahan move? Did we
I don't
ask?
know, Lane. Does Lane like the Shanahan move? We'll find out when he puts it in the comments. Either way,
I think I'm like Carl. I think Mr. Daskell was more flippity flop than I was because he said Carolina was going to win the series before it started. Now he's saying Florida's going to sweep them with the broom. So, gotta call flip flop when you see it. Flippity
you
flop.
know what though? I think there's a very good chance this series becomes a sweep, and I just hate that an Eastern Conference Finals is this bad.
Yeah, for sure.
But Jeff Black, a great point. You got to beat the best to be the best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
But that's why I'm saying I don't think it's an excuse for Toronto that they keep losing to the team that goes to the finals in the East. I just hate that's the second round and not the conference finals, if that makes more sense. Like
So
Carolina's getting all this credit for making to the conference finals twice in 3 years. And if they lose, if they get swept in back-to-back conference finals, well, what was the point in that?
So let's put a hypothetical question in here.
I
If
love
the Leafs-
hypothetical questions.
Yeah, you have a new word I created. If the Leafs still lose to Florida and lay 2 humongous goose eggs on home ice, but if they're in the conference finals instead of semifinals, are we having the same conversation? Are we still fine with Shanahan? Are we still blowing up the cold 4?
I don't know, because what
I don't know either. So I'm asking you.
Toronto conference finals are bust.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know how Leaf Nation would feel losing those 2 games the way they did, no matter how, even if they went to the Stanley Cup Finals, or you lost the Cup that way.
Right. Yeah,
I almost don't know if it would hurt even more to get that close and screw up that bad.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know. That's a very good question, Dan, that I think I'm going to have to answer at a later date.
Save the date.
Save the date. Send you a save the date card when we get married at Prime Wheels Direct. Obviously, Dan and I are not getting married because we're brothers. Kazi and I will at Premier Wheels Direct in Scarborough, home for all your tires, winters, summers, rims, and more. But
right, cool partnerships coming. Stay tuned.
I don't know. I feel very let down by this Eastern Conference Finals. I was really hyped for it. I thought Carolina, the way they played, I'm like, this team is different. They found the depth pieces that they needed. Anderson's looking like Anderson from 10 years ago. They have a legitimate shot, and then they get blown out in 2 games.
I said it was going to be a boring series, right? In the pre-series episode, right? I said, this is boring.
It just sucks. It sucks.
It really does.
It is bad for capital B. Bad to the bone.
Should have known better, because that's what Florida did to Toronto. I think Toronto had a lot of shots in that first game, and then all of a sudden it just started to deplete game after game.
Literally.
You had to play them.
So Lane is glad Shanny is gone.
Shanahan plan is done.
Like I said, though, I still think you have to give Shanahan some credit for turning around the franchise to where it is now. The team was god-awful when he got there.
I don't.
We will, by the way, have an entire Leafs episode breakdown. Actually, I'd like to do this, and I'm just going to throw this to you guys here now. I think we should do one for every Canadian team.
By Lane's comment here, I think it's time for Major Cheese. I don't think he's agreeing with your guys' JT coming back.
Okay, but like I said to you, I don't know if I agree at 6. I was thinking 4.5. Right? Because originally the report was half the salary or more.
So it's 5.5 or less.
So apparently TSN and John Tavares aren't good at math. So
we know John Tavares is excellent at math, because he even did the tax conversion and everything, right? So we know he's great at math. So I guess someone at TSN doesn't have the calculator working.
Well, I'm going to put this out here. Mad Mama said, and I actually find this really funny, but maybe partially true, is John Tavares just don't want to move, and the Leafs would just say, we're either paying you this or just go ahead and just go and retire.
Wow.
Like, seriously. We were having that conversation, and it's like John Tavares.
What do you mean he doesn't want to move? He doesn't want to move.
He doesn't want to move. Why would he want to move? He's from Toronto. He's older. He's got
his nannies.
He's got his nannies. He's got
beautiful golfing up here.
He's going to retire. I don't think he's going to retire yet, no?
But what if he doesn't want to move, and he's like, Toronto's like, okay, come here for $4 million or don't come back. We don't care. Not our problem.
Well, then Toronto's licking their chops and they're
I didn't think of that. Well, look at Pacioretty, right? Unfortunately, it looks like Pacioretty's retiring, and it's nothing to do with his play on the ice. It's the fact that he's missing being at home. I don't know where home is for him. Is it Montreal? Is it Vegas? I don't know where he lives exactly. But wherever he lives, this home team will not sign him. So he's retiring. And that's sad, because I think he still has, especially after his playoffs, I think he has at least another year of hockey.
But he misses home. And he said it's very hard to be away from his family. And John Tavares could be feeling the same. So if I'm Toronto, if you want him cheap, I'm letting this go as long as you can. and again, too, okay, I want to ask you guys this. Don't think, just answer. For Toronto, John Tavares or Sam Bennett?
Bennett.
What's Bennett going to get?
6.5.
So why would you pay Tavares 6? Like a serious, then that's how you have to look at it if you're Toronto. I'd rather have Brad Marchand than John Tavares right now. I'd rather
that's the thing, Chazzy. You're right. I think Bennett is going to get more money. It really comes down to if Florida does win back-to-back cups and how big of a piece Bennett was. I think at this point, the sky's the limit. I mean, Bennett's at what? 9 goals already? Let's say, 100%. Bennett. Yeah, Jeff. Thank you. 100%.
And you have to ask yourself, if you'd rather have Bennett than Tavares, that means you have to pay Tavares less than Bennett.
You're right.
Right? So if you're saying at Bennett's ability he's worth about 6.5, which actually, Dan, I don't think you're out to lunch at 6.5 on Sam Bennett. I think that's probably at par.
Over a long term, if he gets 6.5.
Well, have we a long term? Because I think
short term he's going to get more.
I think depending
short term he'll get more. Short term he'd get 8.
I think depending how long like Florida goes in Cup one, he's had 9 goals already. So where's Bennett going to end? 15 goals? That's what Ovechkin did when he won the Cup, right? So it's like at that point you might be paying Bennett $8 million, which sounds absolutely crazy. But we've seen it in playoff numbers nowadays are worth more money than regular season performances.
So Lane, my question for you is when you're saying over 5,
he means over $5 million for Bennett.
Are you saying not over 5 for Tavares?
He's not saying that for Bennett.
I don't think he's saying that for Bennett.
I think he's saying that
for Tavares. Yeah,
I think he's saying it for Scott Lawton that he would not pay him more than 5.
Yeah, well,
I
love Scott Lawton. He's a good dude.
So I don't know. This is just where, and it's funny, we always seem to get back to Toronto Maple Leafs here on the Streakers Island podcast, powered by Streakers Gaming and not Home Depot. Okay, so actually, I want to bring this over to the Chazinator 5.0.
Here you go.
If you were Montreal, in theory, you would love to add some depth, right? And some veteran leadership. What would you pay John Tavares in open market?
Probably John Tavares. 5, maybe 5.5.
So if you're saying he's worth 5.5, which actually, funny enough, Chaz,
you're seeing on the open market.
Dan and I have argued about this. I think Tavares is worth 5.5.
But
that means the Leafs should be paying him 4. And
what I would pay for him.
For Jeff's question here, hey boys, do you think Marner to Blackhawks is an actual thing? Read that earlier somewhere. Blackhawks, my team. Number 1.
Oh, yes, that's right. He's
no need to read anymore, Jeff, now that you can listen to the Streakers Island podcast. And yes, I think it is. I think this is where most likely Mitch Marner's going to go.
Didn't you call that, Jacob, like weeks ago?
I called it months ago.
You said Marner with Bedard, and Chicago has the cap space to hand him $14 million since they got rid of Seth Jones.
I'm going to say it right now. I think they bring in Marner and Patty Kane.
Wow, and Patty Kane.
That does make sense.
Then you go Bedard, Marner, Kane as a top line.
Holy cow.
Kane will score at least 50, 60 goals.
Lane is saying the same ballpark I am for Sam Bennett, that 8.5 in open
market.
Especially with the playoff performance he's having.
Wow.
But Jeff, to get back to your question, yes, Mitch Marner's to Chicago is a legitimate thing. And as much as Leaf Nation, for some reason, doesn't want to drink their beer, they want to try to water Marner like a plant. Mitch Marner is a very high-end, talented player. And I think as much as I don't like to blame the market, I don't think he handled the pressure of Toronto media very well. And I think being in a city like Chicago where there's less pressure, not saying Chicago wasn't pressure, but it's not the same as Toronto.
It's still original 16.
It's
like
not
they have
the
a high
same as
standard.
Toronto or Montreal. I do think Mitch Marner, it's very possible he goes to Chicago. But then I still think they got to get a sniper to play with Bedard and Marner because both of them are playmakers. Unless you just keep Ryan Donato in Chicago. Ryan Donato is a very, very good player. Scored, 32 goals this year?
Yeah, great year, whatever it was.
Where's Chicago on the draft list this year again?
Oh, but yeah, they would ask me where Chicago is. I'm like, do we need to have a geography?
No, on the draft. Are they 2? No, they're 3.
I think we're 3. Yeah, I thought 3. I would love to see Patty Kane back in Chicago. It'd be a really nice victory lap for him. And it would be great leadership for Connor Bedard. That would be amazing if Patty Kane went back to Chicago. And bring back Jonathan Taves, give him a minimum league contract, and get old boys are back in town.
Win another couple cups.
Yeah, Seth Jones comes back, though.
So
no, I think Florida has him locked up. Jones is locked up in Florida now.
Oh, yeah, because it's a contract that's carried over, right? So $9.5 million.
The Islanders 1, Sharks 2, Blackhawks 3, Utah 4.
Oh, we were right, Chazzy. 3.
3, and you have cap room.
Yeah. Wow.
The Chicago Blackhawks last time they had a number 3 and 25. Oh, so the Chicago's 3rd and 25th pick were acquired when they traded Jake McCabe to Toronto.
Oh boy.
So that's how they're picking 3rd and 25th.
Oh, courtesy of Toronto?
Yes. Mind you, that was a great trade by Toronto to bring in Jake McCabe. He's been a great part of your defense.
I love Jake
How
McCabe
long
since his
ago was
rookie
that?
days in Buffalo.
That trade was 2-3 years ago now.
Wow. And you're
But
now
Jake
just
McCabe's
seeing
been a great
the end of
fit.
that. Wow.
Yeah.
But
So
I'm not
fairly,
feeling good about Carolina. I think Mitch Marner in Chicago.
8-year deal, wrap him up in Chicago.
I actually think that is a perfect fit for Marner. It's a market where I don't think there's as much pressure. Him and Connor Bedard could make a lot of magic together in the bedroom. But like, you never know what those two players could do, and I think it could be a really big piece for Chicago because I think Chicago's got to find a way to get better. Right. And actually, Jeff, this is a great question for you. If you want to answer in the comments, if you're still in the chat here, are you disappointed with Chicago the last couple of years? They've kind of, in my opinion, the team's been a bit of a letdown. And Bedard, there's been a lot of conversations that Connor Bedard has been like failing a grade 9 math test. Everyone's disappointed.
I just want to say quickly, I heard Chazzy said 8 years from Marner. Just did quick math. 8 years at $14 million is $112 million.
Yeah, he's an 100-point player.
Why not?
That's a lot of money for a guy that's what, 5'6"?
No,
like that's
that.
a lot of money, bro. Wow, that's a lot of money a guy is up to be failed in Toronto.
Oh my god.
Holy cow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Of money.
The problem is, okay, so riddle me this then. And I'm gonna pull a Chazzy here. Let's say Marner goes to Chicago. 2 years later, Chicago wins a cup. Toronto's continuing to go in the second round. Marner wasn't the problem anymore.
It's very true.
So you don't really know if Marner's the problem until he's gone, and if there's a change.
It's very true. And you ever
we know it could be Max Domi that's the problem in the dressing room. We don't know. I don't think it is, but you don't know, right? I mean, obviously, I think it's someone in the core four.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know. Maybe Marner's the solution, not the problem. We don't know yet. The reason why, and I would say this too, it has nothing to do with Mitch Marner as a human being. This has to do with his contract's expiring. If it was Austin Matthews' contract that was about to expire, he'd be the one out the door. If it was William Nylander's, he'd be out the door. If it was, John Tavares' contract is up, and I'll be honest, I'm not paying him $6. I'm not. No, I'm put off. Because everyone's like, oh, he's going to take 50% or less. Well, what the hell is $6 million then? What did he get last year, Dan Tavares? It was 11. What is 11 divided by 2?
5.5.
So where do you get 6?
That's the crazy thing. Look at John Tavares' contract. 11 over 7. That was a $77 million contract.
Such a bad contract.
Plus his $9 million bonus that he's whining about he has to pay $3 million tax on. Which I get it. Don't come to Canada, bro. You knew what was going to happen, right? Giving a dollar's not worth anything. He's not giving up that much money. But holy cow, like it's like, I don't know.
So interesting question for you boys then, and I've seen this idea floated around.
Yeah.
Should the salary cap fluctuate depending on your tax structure? So should Toronto be able to spend more in Ottawa and Montreal because the players get so much more taxed off their paycheck versus Dallas? Mikko Rantanen's making 12 clear because there's like next to no tax in Dallas, where in Toronto he'd be making about 8. I've seen a lot of people saying, should they float that around? It's a luxury cap. It's what they have in the NBA, where it gives teams flexibility to actually make different moves. Chazzy, what are your thoughts? And Stan's looking at his phone, probably looking up cuties on Bumble.
No, I'll do that.
Well, you could look at something like that, but could get, I don't know, complicated.
I don't know. I think
I'm asking, what's complicated about it?
Well, they're used to one way, and then I have no idea.
But okay, but it's always used to one way, and changes happen.
Here's what I look.
That's out of my pay grade, the luxury tax.
But you put the capital C and the capital E and the capital O in CEO.
I don't deal with luxury tax.
Okay, Mr. Moore, for your money. Put more money in my wallet. And do you agree if this Timbit thought of the day?
At first, I said yes, but the more I'm thinking of it,
yes.
I said no. And I'll tell you why.
No, you're not the one to think.
Okay.
I'm kidding, Dan. Go ahead.
So you say that Toronto would pay more tax than like Dallas. That was your example, right?
Mm-hmm.
For Mikko Antonin. Maybe I'll get some haters of this. Hopefully not. I've never been in Dallas, so I don't know. But in theory, what city's a nicer place to live in, Toronto or Dallas?
Memphis.
What I'm saying is places that have a higher cost of living are usually a nicer place to live, so you get what you pay for, right?
Yeah, no, that is an interesting point. But they've been talked about this in different leagues.
It's like real estate, right? A house in Toronto is going to be worth a lot more money than a house in Dallas. Right?
Well, that means we need to get Josh Buchanan on the show.
That's
we're
right.
Going to be discussing real estate.
Let's leave that to the accounting department.
Yeah.
But boys, I think it's time we call it a night.
Yes.
I can see Chazzy needs to study for his last exam in school. He's got the college look. More for your money needs to dream about wheels flying off a roof. And I just need to go to bed or maybe continue to watch The Mentalist on Amazon Prime because I'm on season 7 right now.
By the way, we're not sponsored by Amazon Prime, but if you want to sponsor us, we're totally open to it.
But thank you very much, everyone, for watching the Streakers Island podcast powered by Streakers Gaming. Looking for more Streakers content? Follow us on all of the social medias. I'm Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst. There's Chazzy, who puts the capital C, capital E, and capital O in CEO. And last, but certainly not least, Mr. Moore for your money.
Woo!
Thank you, everyone, for commenting and viewing. We should be back tomorrow for a pregame show with Edmonton versus Dallas. Maybe
are you working tomorrow?
Special guest. I am not working all day tomorrow, Mr. Moore.
Oh, so you'll be back in time for the pregame.
By 3:37. I will see you
like
guys
a baseball
tomorrow.
start.
Baseball.
Bye-bye.